I'm gonna try my best to get through this video without making my chair squeak a million times and without hitting my desk because I feel like it's gonna shake the camera. You are not on a tripod right now. You are on a makeshift stand for this camera. Hello, I don't usually film videos with warm lighting like this late at night if I'm gonna sit down and just talk the whole time, but this is kind of the time it worked out to film this video, and I'm also just kind of sitting eating dinner. Thought we could just chat, eat some dinner together while I answer some questions. So I'm like checking out my setup in my viewfinder here, and I think it's fine. I don't know. Sometimes I feel like if lighting is too warm, I don't like it, but what you gonna do? I don't really feel like getting out a ring light right now because this is casual. We're just hanging out. I picked up my favorite Thai food for dinner. It's kind of late at night. I kind of had a weird day, but we're not talking about that in this video. It's from my newest favorite Thai place. Actually, my friend Emily got me on this place, and I tried their pad see ew last time I was there, and it's the best I've had so far in the city. It's called Viv, or it's called VIV. I'm not really sure if you say it as the word or you spell it out, but it's in Hell's Kitchen. It's delicious. So I got pad see ew and I got crab rangoon. Another one of my new favorites. If you're watching this around the time it's been uploaded, I am doing extra uploads in the month of October on Sundays. Ideally, these are supposed to just be like a short little extra video each week. And last week I made a decluttering video and it was literally 45 minutes long. So we're gonna try to not make this video that long. That was insane of me. But I asked you guys on my Instagram if you had any questions for me. And I thought we would just do like a little bit of a Q&A. I just like to do these 2 or 3 times a year because I feel like it's just a good way to kind of get to know each other. We've grown a ton in the past few months, which is so exciting. And I feel like it's just kind of like a good way to interact with each other, get to know each other. So I'm gonna read your questions and eat my dinner and let's just hang out for a little bit. I actually got a very good amount of questions, which is really exciting. Thank you to everyone who submitted questions. I'm gonna try to get through as many as I can. I'm probably not gonna do all of them because that would take a lot of time. So any that I don't do or don't get to, but I think they're still good questions, I will probably include like next time I do a Q&A. Okay, first question, how long have you been doing dance for? So I've been dancing since I was 3, typical. I feel like everyone's story always starts like that. Their parents put them in like a ballet tap combo class when they were 3 years old. But in all honesty, I was like pretty bad at dancing until I was maybe like 14 or 15. It was always just something that I did recreationally. I didn't start competing until I was 11 or 12. I did competitive dance, but I was pretty terrible at it until I was like 14 or 15. I focused a lot on dance like my junior and senior year of high school, and I really focused on dancing in college and like now. Like I was not good growing up. So it's kind of a miracle that I like stuck with it and really saw it through. I mean, I've been dancing, I guess, for the last 23 years of my life, technically. Top 5 Broadway shows. This is gonna be tough. This is gonna be in no particular order. And I'm probably gonna like have a different answer tomorrow. But like, I guess coming to mind right now, Beetlejuice, Mean Girls, Holiday Inn. Honestly, I saw the original cast of Hamilton, so I'll put that in there. This is like really hard. And Something Rotten. Those will be my 5 right now, but I'll probably change my answer like tomorrow. Why won't you put Bennett in the pumpkin costume? Because it's not Halloween yet? I don't know. I'll put him in it soon. How do you power through feeling lonely? That's a good one because I have been pretty open, I guess, about my struggling with my feelings of loneliness this year. I've always kind of been someone to feel like I'm all alone, feel like it's me against the world, like, and feel like no one cares about me, which is not true. And I think it's kind of sometimes for me to get through my feelings of loneliness, I need to kind of set my ego aside and just reach out to people. Like a lot of times I'm like, I'm so lonely and no one has reached out to me to hang out. And if they really cared about me, they would. But in reality, it's like, okay, well, did you reach out to anybody to hang out? Like it's always a two-way street. It's something I'm still working on every day, struggling with feelings of loneliness. But I've been trying to actively do new activities where I can meet new friends, join new activities, and say yes a little more often. But I definitely sympathize with you. I get that. I feel lonely all the time. Trying to say yes to more things and putting yourself out there is going to help a little bit. What's your favorite train line? Interesting question. Honestly, I would say in general, the 1 train is my favorite, but not really because of how it runs, because the 1 train kind of blows. It's always like shut down for construction and not working. The 1 train has been a train that I've consistently been around ever since I was in college. Like that's the train by the ferry, that's the train that's uptown, that's the train in the middle of the island. I have just been around the 1 train a lot, so I feel like it just feels familiar. So I guess that's my favorite train line. I don't know. When I lived in Washington Heights, I loved the A. The A runs express from 59th Street to 125th Street. So it zooms. It's an express train and it gets you uptown fast. How do you edit your videos? I use Final Cut Pro to edit, and that's pretty much it. I actually have an entire video on how I edit my videos if you want to check that out. I remember I posted it thinking it was going to be like a good resource for people because I have a lot of YouTube tip videos that did well, but that video didn't do well at all. But I get a lot of questions about it. So if you are curious how I edit, I literally have all my information in that video. I'll try to link it. Best locality to rent a home in New York. I mean, that's kind of up to the person. New York is a giant place with so many neighborhoods. There's no one neighborhood in New York that's the best. It's all specific to the person and what they want. If you want an actual house, like with a front door and a lawn, you're not looking at Manhattan, you're looking in other boroughs. Or like, for example, if you're really looking for community and you really want like a very community-centered neighborhood, I wouldn't live in the financial district. I wouldn't live in Hudson Yards. Okay, Bennett, he has just been trying to get involved this entire time. But like, for example, for me, I do theater and a lot of things I do are unfortunately like near Times Square. So I really wanted to be closer to that area because a lot of things I have to do are just in that area. So it could depend on where you work. There are some neighborhoods where you can pay way less for more space, and then there are some neighborhoods where you pay way more for a lot less space. Can YouTube full-time pay as much as a corporate job? Yes. Based on all of my number crunching and all of my finances I've done this year, I am projected to make about as much money as I made with my full-time salary job last year. Are you going to hire a video editor for your channel? No. I do not anticipate ever hiring an editor for my channel unless for some reason I become the next Emma Chamberlain and my channel grows to 10 million subscribers overnight and I am just so busy I can't fathom having the time to do it. I am such a control freak. I just can never see myself actually like handing over my videos to someone else to edit. A lot of my humor and a lot of like points I try to get across and everything happen within my editing. What is your dream travel destination? Iceland. I want to go to Iceland so badly. I'm trying to debate if I want to do a trip with friends or if I want to do a solo trip there, but that is definitely on my bucket list to go relatively soon. How did you feel moving by yourself to NYC? I didn't really move by myself to NYC. I had a way easier process than most because my first step to moving to New York was going to college. I went to college on Staten Island. I've talked about this a little bit before, but if you don't know, I went to college on Staten Island for musical theater. Staten Island is a borough of New York. It is the furthest one from like Manhattan. You have to take a ferry to get there. I was able to have a relatively normal college experience compared to like other acting programs. Like if I were to go to school at NYU or somewhere in the city that doesn't necessarily have like a regular college campus. D1 in sports. So we had a football field, basketball team, like all of that. I was on the dance team and we had frats and sororities. Like I was not in those, but we had them. I was able to have like kind of a normal college experience, but like moving to New York at 18 wasn't so scary because I was like in college, you know, like that was very guided. I didn't have to do anything crazy on my own. And then when I graduated and I moved into Manhattan, it really was like an easy transition because I had so many friends who had already graduated that were living in the city that I had visited. I was familiar with the area they were living in. When I moved with a ton of my friends who also graduated. And so moving into the city, I was very familiar with it because I had been living on Staten Island. I'd been commuting into the city for years. One summer I lived on Staten Island and I worked at a restaurant in Manhattan. So I was just very familiar with all of it. And so moving into the city just did not feel like a crazy jump. I feel very lucky about that because I know that it's very scary and very tough for people moving from like the Midwest or people that don't really know anyone in the city. I was very fortunate to already have a big group of friends and a big support system moving into the city. Like when I moved to my very first apartment where I subletted, I already knew like 30 people in the neighborhood. Like I could not walk down the street without running into someone I knew. My Instagram story template. Okay, I'm assuming this is referring to whenever I post that I have a new video. I've actually gotten this question a few times. When I post that I have a new video and it's like the thumbnail and then the little clip and the arrow pointing to it, people keep asking me for my template. I don't have a template for it. I literally, what I do is the thumbnail file that I have saved on my computer, I send to my phone, and then I go to the YouTube app. As soon as I post my video, I screenshot it, crop it, then I go to Instagram, I pick the thumbnail, take the draw tool, I hold it down on a color that I like in the thumbnail, and then that turns the background that color. Then I go into the little tools on the Instagram story and I add the two pictures, the thumbnail and the screenshot, and then I just type with my text, new video, add the little link button from the little tools, put the link in, and then draw an arrow. It's really, I do it all by hand. It's not like it's like a template that I make anywhere else. Any trips planned for 2024? Nope. I can't think of one thing I have planned. My friends and I have like loosely talked about doing things, but there's no plan set in stone. I kind of talked about wanting to go to Vegas because I went with my family this past year for the first time. I want to go with friends, but we'll see. Best advice for starting a YouTube channel: just start. Like, that is my best advice, is to literally just post. You're not going to get better at it and you're not going to learn unless you just keep posting. Even if your first 50 videos are garbage, it's going to help you in the long run. I literally was watching my like first videos the other day and they were so bad, but I would not have grown to where I am today if I wasn't just posting them. So just post. Favorite place you've traveled so far? It's a good question. Honestly, I was 10, but it was probably Italy. My family's Italian, and so like my heritage is from Italy. So I went when I was 10. I would really love to go back. I would love to go to the region that my family is from. Favorite thing about living on the Upper West Side? Honestly, just like the general community of the Upper West Side. I love how family-oriented and community-oriented it is. You see a lot of the same people you know every day. It's not super touristy. It's very much just like a neighborhood. It just feels right. How are you? Like, are you generally happy right now? Thank you for asking. That's really nice. I think I am generally happy right now. I was definitely going through some stuff in September. I was really struggling. And at the beginning of this year, I was definitely really struggling, going through my bedbug situation and my breakup and getting fired from my job. There was a lot going on this year, but in the past 2 weeks, I've been really feeling a lot more solid, and I think I am genuinely happy. I think it's easy for me sometimes to get caught up in everything that's going on and feeling really stressed and feeling really like sad about things, but I've been trying to take a step back lately and I have just been feeling so grateful for everything in my life. Have you thought of Bennett merchandise? This is actually something I've been kind of wanting to do merch, guys. I don't know. I kind of have no idea what I would put on it. I definitely think Bennett would be involved in the merch somehow. I don't know what I would put on it though. And I feel like I would maybe want like a little drawing of him. Like I would maybe commission like an artist to do something. I don't know. But yes, I have been thinking of doing it. So honestly, let me know if you would be interested in any sort of merch. I feel like I can't launch any until I figure out what I want, because I don't want just Bennett. I want something else that doesn't necessarily involve him, but I don't know what it would say or what it would be. I'm kind of thinking maybe like for when I hit 50,000, I'll drop some merch. I don't know. What would your dream job be right now? I mean, my dream job right now would be to be on Broadway. I feel like that's pretty predictable, but that is my dream job. Always has been, always will be. Can't wait to make it happen. And a follow-up from the same person. Would you keep up your YouTube job if you get a big deal job on Broadway? Yes, I totally think I would. I don't know if maybe I would be as consistent with vlogging. I do think if I were to ever book Broadway or book a tour or do something that is big in the arts, I think I would definitely still vlog that, because I feel like you guys have been on this journey with me. That would be like a really cool thing to share. And then at the same time, I just think YouTube is a great place to like store your memories. So I feel like, why wouldn't I? YouTube job versus corporate job, 15 to 20 years straight if you had to choose one. YouTube. I never wanted to work a corporate job. I literally just did on accident for 2 years. So that's a no-brainer. Least favorite part of YouTube being a full-time job. The thing is, I'm very grateful about this being my job. And while there are downsides to it, none of them are the end of the world and I would never complain about it. But I would say if I had to pick like a least favorite part of YouTube, probably having to look at myself so much. A lot of times I get really anxious about filming, even right now. Like even this video, I was like, oh, it's late, the lighting's not that good. I feel like I get really self-conscious about the way I look and I always want to appear perfect. Like not perfect mentally or stability wise. We all know that I'm sharing my what's going on, but like I just never want to really look super bad. And so I feel like it gets stressful sometimes for me to like look at myself all day. I kind of have a warped view probably of what I look like actually. Just always feel like I need to be like looking nice and presentable. But once again, I'm not complaining. This is just like if I had to pick something. What's your favorite movie of all time? Hairspray. Hairspray starring Zac Efron and Nikki Blonsky. That is the best movie ever. Like there is not one miss in that cast. If you have not seen it, I would really suggest you do. Do you feel more pressure to do activities or make plans because you need to film? This is an interesting question because like, yes, but it's always a good pressure. In the last 3 years, I have found myself saying yes so much more often to plans because in the back of my head, I'm like, that could be good for my YouTube video. Like it's helpful because it's easy for me to convince myself like, oh, you don't have to go out, you can stay in. Like I'm very much, I don't know. I am a homebody. I really do like being just like cozy in my home. I also really do love going out and doing things, but I just need a push to get me there. Favorite vegan food in the city? I love the restaurant Time and Tonic. It's on the Upper West Side. It's a completely gluten-free restaurant, but then pretty much all of their options are also vegan as well, except for like I think there's something where you can get real salmon. But pretty much all of their options are gluten-free and vegan. And if they're not vegan, you can make them vegan. One of my good friends, he's vegan, and he always introduces us to a lot of really good vegan food. He knows like every amazing vegan spot in the city, so if that is of interest to you guys, I could always ask him to help me out with a vegan food tour. Dream Broadway role, Polly Baker in the musical Crazy for You. Crazy for You is my favorite musical of all time. It's a Gershwin show. The Gershwins are my favorite composers. Would you ever consider living somewhere else with lower cost of living? Probably not. I just have always thought it was worth it to live in New York. I think the pricing is worth it for what I want to do. I would much rather be paying more rent and saving less in a city that I can have every opportunity to do the things that I want than pay less rent and live in a city where I am just wishing I could pursue my dreams. And I know a lot of people feel differently about that. People would rather save money and have more space, but to me, the opportunities that are accessible to me for what I want to do in New York are totally worth the cost of living. What advice would you give to your younger self? Honestly, advice I would give to my younger self would be like to focus on dance more, because I could be a better dancer right now if I practiced a little bit more. But something that's a little more inspirational, I guess I would tell my younger self to not be so scared what other people think of me. And honestly, that's advice I could give myself now. I am still so awkward and shy and get really nervous to speak to people or say the wrong thing or be embarrassing. Like, it still is something that scares me. Obviously, not as much. I mean, I have a YouTube channel, so I'm sure people make fun of me. I'm sure people say stuff about me. In like real life situations, I am still a pretty timid person, and I want to be a little more bold and outgoing. My younger self was extremely shy, and so I would want to tell her to be a little braver. How did you get started on YouTube? I started my YouTube channel in October of 2020. I think it was the 27th. I posted my first video, so we're coming up on the 3-year anniversary. But I really started it because I was so bored. I was so incredibly bored. There was no theater. I needed a creative outlet. I always used to make videos when I was a kid, like with the neighborhood kids. We had like a web show, because that's what they were called in the age of iCarly. We had our web show, and I loved editing. I loved putting things together. And I always found that I liked editing little things in college. And then when I subletted an apartment in 2019, I lived with 3 guys, and I was obsessed with New Girl. And I always was like, oh, like this is just like New Girl. Like, I don't know, I was obsessed with it. But we filmed like 3 fake vlogs with my friend Maggie. It was like me and then my roommates I lived with, and then Maggie. And we called it Roomies. We did like 3 parts of it. And we just edited it for fun, and we watched it just us. Like, we just thought it was silly. It was kind of after that I like had this like fire ignited in me again, where I was like, wow, I really love filming things and editing. But it wasn't until 2020 when I literally couldn't do theater. There was nothing to do. And I had recently gotten a salary job and had some money to spend. So I was like, I'm gonna buy a camera and I'm gonna start a YouTube channel. What's your favorite alone activity? Honestly, my favorite thing to do alone is probably go on a walk. Recently, I've been loving just putting my headphones in, listening to music, and walking around by myself. Like the other day, I just walked around for like 2 miles, just wandered, had no plans of where I wanted to go. And that has been really calming for me recently. I love going on walks. I love just like being around other people in the city. I think that's really good for me, especially because I'm alone a lot. So I think just getting out and going on a walk is like good exercise. It's good to like at least just see other people. I know it's really different than if you were to live in like the suburbs. You would pass maybe like 2 people on a walk. But for me, if I have gotten no social interaction in the day and I want to like see other people and no one's available, like kind of just being outside and like passing people on the street and just being like a part of something is enough sometimes. So probably just going on a walk and listening to music. Okay, what city would you live in if not NYC? This is always an interesting question because I like literally don't know. I do not like other cities. In the other city's defense, there are lots of cities I could still go to and explore, and maybe there are ones that I love that I just don't know yet. I mean, I'm in New York for theater and for that reason, so naturally, I guess another place that I would maybe want to live is LA. I'm intrigued by it. I've only been there one time when I was 12, but I think I would only want to live in LA if I was there for a reason, and I was like filming something or in a show or doing something out there, and I had the means to be there. I have always said this, I am fine struggling in New York. Like, I'm fine like doing the grind, and that's like when I moved here, that's like what I did. You know, I had my retail job, I was auditioning. The grind is a little less because I have this YouTube channel, but I will never struggle in LA. Like, I feel like I am totally fine struggling in New York, but I don't want to be a struggling actor in LA. Guys, you really came through with these questions. There are so many. I'm probably not going to answer over half of them because this video would be just so incredibly long. So I might have to do another one down the line or figure out a way to answer these. Did you ever consider any other college majors other than musical theater? Initially, my whole life, I kind of thought I wanted to be a teacher, but then somewhere around the age of like 15, I realized I literally don't really like kids that much, and that would be a terrible career path. So before I said I wanted to be a teacher, I always said I wanted to go to UCLA and edit movies and film movies. So I guess maybe something like that, like actually like a degree in film. But my issue, and kind of why I decided I wanted to do theater, was I just didn't want to be behind the camera. I wanted to be in front of it. And that's kind of why YouTube is like the best of both worlds, because I can do all the editing, all the filming, but it's still me. I guess I'm a little conceited in that way. I want to be on the screen. Looking back, if I were to have to like go back and choose a different major, I always said like I would be a good lawyer. And I guess I'm good at arguing and debating, but like I cry. I feel like I couldn't be a lawyer because someone would say something and I would literally cry. How's your matcha journey going? It's going amazing. And we have a matcha recommendation, the Rishi Tea Everyday matcha brand. So I'm gonna look that up. What does your manager do for you? This is a good question. So I have had management for my YouTube channel for about 10 months now. They're the best. Friends with Benefits Talent. They are just the most incredible people I've ever met in my life. They represent some of the most incredible people. And I have been loving having management. Essentially what they do is they communicate with brands for me to get me these brand deals that you see in my video. They help me with strategy sessions for my YouTube channel. And they're really just a resource to be there for me to reach out to whenever I have any questions or I need a second opinion on anything. But their main job is to get me brand deals and help me work with brands. And they have just been incredible since I've signed on with them. I love them so much. They are the best. So shout out to them. Have you bumped into any famous people on the streets of New York City? Yes. I have passed a good amount of famous people, but my most memorable one, which was in a vlog once, if you were there, I was literally going into the Target on the Upper East Side, and you have to take an escalator down the stairs. And I was on the escalator with my friend. We were talking, and the girl in front of us turned around because we had split her up with the person she was with, and it was Selena Gomez. That was like the most surreal moment of my life. I don't really fangirl over many people, but that was like shocking. And then we really stood there and played it so cool. Like we said nothing. We were just like frozen in time. I think we split her up from her bodyguard or whoever she was with. How long will you live in NYC? Preferably forever. I know a lot of people come to New York after they graduate college and they intend for it to be like a fun place to live in their 20s until they like settle down. I have never felt that way. Ever since like I was a kid, have always felt like New York is my home and I've really wanted to put down roots here, and I would love to, if I ever have kids, raise children here. I just don't really dream of owning like a house. I don't dream of living in the suburbs. I really love the city and I really want to be involved here, and I don't want to just use it as like a place I live for a little bit and then I leave. Like I really want it to be like my home and my community. So preferably I don't leave. And I know things change and like life can be crazy and your plans can all change, but ideally that's how I felt for the past 10 years and I still feel that way. Are you doing Vlogmas? And if so, any tips? I think I am. I really think I am. I don't have any tips because I've never done it. Last year I did an abridged version of it and I did the 12 days of Christmas. So I posted every other day of the month, but I kind of want to do real Vlogmas. I guess my tip is to plan early and get ahead of it. I literally last night, and it's October, I sat down and started planning like my first 15 days of Vlogmas. Tentatively, I mean, plans can change, but what areas of New York do you like most to walk around on a beautiful day? Central Park for sure. Riverside Park, which is along the Hudson River. I really like walking around in like the Dumbo area under the Brooklyn Bridge. There's a very pretty waterfront over there in Brooklyn. There was a really pretty day this summer that I found myself over there while the sun was setting, and I had never felt happier. It was beautiful. Honestly, anywhere really near the water. Like Astoria is really pretty near the water. I've walked around there before. Oh, this one's from my friend Gino. What's something you've learned about yourself this year? I think I've learned that I'm a lot more independent than I think, and I'm a lot stronger than I think. I went through kind of some tough times this year, and a lot of the things I went to, I could never fathom going through without having like a partner or significant other, but I got through them and I have a very strong support system. I have the best friends in the world and they really helped me see how strong I am. The past few years were very scary, especially at the height of the pandemic. I was really scared to do things alone. I was scared to go out places alone, and I've kind of had to like relearn how to do that, and I'm super proud of myself for just becoming more independent and kind of finding myself and finding the confidence in myself to do the things that I want to do and not feel like I have to rely on someone else to do them. Will you do another how much YouTube pays me for X amount of subscribers? I'm thinking about it. I feel like the novelty has worn off a little bit because I'm not newly monetized, but I think I might do how much I made from AdSense at the end of this year. Would you get Bennett a friend? I want a second cat so badly, but in this space, it's just not feasible to have 2 cats. Like, that would be mean. It's such a small space. But if I ever move somewhere that's bigger and I have more room, I might get a second cat. Have you considered working on a cruise ship? I've talked about this a few times before, but right before the pandemic, I actually booked a lead singer on a cruise ship. So I would have been the lead singer of a show that the cruise ship was based out of Germany, and it was going to sail around like Europe and the Middle East for like 8 months. I was just waiting to get a confirmed boat, and then obviously the pandemic happened, so I never actually got that. And I was also debating whether I really wanted to do it or not. Ultimately, I think it was for the best. I don't think I would function that well on a cruise ship, living on it for so long. I have so many friends who have worked on or are currently working on cruise ships who absolutely love it, and it seems like a really fun time. I just don't think I would want to be away from the city for this long. And especially now that I have Bennett, I don't really want to leave him. But there was an alternate universe where I was almost a singer on a cruise ship. Is living in New York hard and expensive? Yeah. It's hard and it's expensive, but I think it's also rewarding and whatever you get out of it. Honestly, if you do it right, New York is not that expensive. You can make it work. I mean, my first apartment, I paid $850 a month in rent. And I had a pretty big apartment. I lived uptown in Washington Heights. You know, $850 for rent, I feel like these days is not that bad. I had laundry in the building. I had a giant room. I had a dishwasher. I had a really pretty view of the George Washington Bridge. How many hours a week do you spend working on your YouTube channel? A lot. I don't even know. I've never actually like calculated how many hours. I feel like sometimes it's kind of hard because like if I'm filming a week in my life vlog, I'm going about my day and doing things I need to do, but technically it's still like work, you know? So it's like hard to calculate that. I don't know. I get nervous sometimes that I'll burn out soon, especially with the rate that I've been putting out vlogs, because I feel like I rarely do anything without filming it. And if I don't film something, I like feel bad about it. So like, I mean, I definitely put in at least 40 hours a week with my videos. It takes me between like 5 and 10 hours to edit one video. And I've been editing about 3 a week. And then I've been filming. And then like, I also have to do like planning, and none of this is like crazy. You know, this workload is a lot different than like a normal job. I worked my marketing job for 2 years, and there was a lot more in a day I had to do with that 9-to-5 job than what I do with my YouTube. I do understand that. I feel like a lot of influencers and YouTubers can be really out of touch with like what work is and like what they have to get done. Like they'll say they have a really busy day, and then they'll go to the grocery store and go to the gym and edit a video, which is like what I do sometimes. I'm like, oh, my day's busy, and then I only do these things, but most people have to do those things and like go to work. I used to post 2 videos a week on YouTube up until last December, but I also worked 40 hours a week with a full-time job. Having that extra time now where I don't have that job, I have a lot more time to put a lot more effort and quality into my videos and my editing. And I also think where my life differs a little bit from that stereotypical like YouTuber or influencer is that I spend a lot of my time in a week dancing and rehearsing and going to auditions, which can be a full-time job in itself too, which is an interesting thing because I can't really imagine doing YouTube full-time if I wasn't pursuing theater. I think that I would get really bored or like feel unfulfilled, and I would probably have to go back and get a regular job, which I also recently have been toying with getting a part-time job. I don't know what I would do, but just to like have more interaction, make some more money. I don't know. That's something I'm toying with, but I don't know. So anyways, how many hours do I spend a week? Probably anywhere between 25 and 40. What are the best restaurants? My favorite restaurants in New York are Empanada Mama. It's been my favorite since I was 15. 456 New Shanghai in Chinatown. Is your dream more to be on Broadway or to be in TV and movies? It's definitely Broadway. I never even considered doing TV or movies. Growing up, I always said like I didn't have the look for TV. And my opinion on that has kind of changed, especially since the pandemic when all there was like TV and film and Broadway was not around for a while. I started rethinking that, and I do think it would be really cool to do TV and film, but I don't really know where to start with it, so I'll definitely have to take some acting for the camera classes if I do decide that's something that I want to do. How is budgeting and finances being a YouTuber full-time? So it's definitely a lot more confusing than working a regular job, because with a regular job you just get your W-2 and fill it out and your taxes are pretty easy. I got a taste of how taxes can be a little more complicated last year when I made money from YouTube, but I'm making significantly more this year than I did last year because obviously I'm doing it full time now and I've grown. The biggest difference that I have this year, which once again, I did it a little bit last year, is like dealing with taxes as someone who's like self-employed. So my best way of going about that is making estimated payments to the IRS and keeping a spreadsheet that shows like where all my money's coming from. Because the way you make money as a YouTuber comes from a lot of different income streams. So I have a lot of moving pieces of money. Also keeping a spreadsheet of all your expenses because that's super important when it comes down to doing your taxes. So it's definitely just a lot of being conscious about where the money's coming from, keeping track of things, keeping receipts for things, because there's a lot of moving pieces now. It's not so simple anymore. We're gonna end with probably one of the most asked things on this question and answer, which I'm not really gonna touch on. I've gotten a lot of questions about this, and it is my breakup, my dating life, all of that. So I got a lot of questions asking if I'm dating. Something I learned, another thing I learned this year, is that I don't think I'm ever going to so openly share like my love life and my relationships ever again. I kind of carelessly just put a lot of stuff about my relationship on the internet when I started my YouTube because I felt like I was in a place where like, why wouldn't I? At the time, I kind of thought like, we'll never break up, so it doesn't really matter. I went through a breakup at the beginning of the year. Someone else also asked if I'll be opening up about it. No, I'm not really gonna ever give any details about anything that happened just because as much as I love to gossip and tell you guys a good story, I just feel like that's tacky to like talk about that on the internet. It's really no one's business except for mine. So many people are asking if I'm dating, if I'm on dating apps, what I look for in a boyfriend. I feel like I have learned this year I'm a lot more than like who I'm dating. I'll answer with this. Yeah, sure, I've gone on a few dates, but I don't think I'm in a position right now that I want to be in a relationship. Dated someone for a very long time and dated them throughout all of my formative years becoming an adult, like since I was 18. And now I'm in my mid-20s, I'm on my own. That's like a brand new experience for me, and I don't want to just jump into another relationship. It's been about 6 months. I just feel like it's a really good time for me to figure out myself, figure out what I want. I've gone on some dates. I actually don't have any dating apps. They kind of freak me out. I'm like scared to make one. But I don't know. It's just one of those things where I'm not actively searching for like a boyfriend. If something is meant to be, it'll just happen. I really am enjoying my time being independent and being on my own. If you were in a very long-term relationship and you just jump right into a new one, that's like, how are you ever going to learn about yourself? How are you ever going to learn? Like, I don't know. And I know that happens a lot. Someone will leave someone for someone else. I just feel like if I were to jump into a new relationship right away, I would be doing a disservice to myself. My 4 best friends, who you have seen in many of my vlogs, have really been there for me this year. And honestly, they have shown me a kind of love I hope everybody is able to find in their lifetime. And they have been my rock this year, and I think there's something so special about kind of focusing on your friendships. So I think I'm gonna end the Q&A here. If I did not get to your question, I'm so sorry. I hopefully will do another Q&A maybe during Vlogmas, but I thought this would just be something fun to do for our extra Sunday upload. So thank you for eating dinner with me. Thank you so much for watching this Q&A. Thank you for submitting questions. Every single time I put a Q&A thing on my story, I kind of feel like no one's gonna ask anything. And I'm always blown away when I see that people genuinely have questions to ask. It's really a cool thing. Once again, I say this all the time, but I am so grateful for the life that I'm living, and it would not be possible without any of you. So I love you guys so much. Thank you so much for watching. And if you haven't yet, please subscribe to my channel, give this video a thumbs up, and I will talk to you in the next video. Bye.